Welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name's Jim. I'm going to do something a little different today. I've done this 2 or 3 times over the last 282 episodes, this being the 283rd, and that's putting on a podcast episode without any notes. Just kind of flying blind by the seat of your pants. Hail Mary, going for all the marbles. So here we go. First of all, I want to talk about wasps. We have 3 kinds of wasps that I'm aware of here in northeastern Kansas. One is a yellow jacket. We're probably all familiar with him. Another is a paper wasp. The difference between yellow jackets and paper wasps are, I think the yellow jacket tucks his hind legs up when he flies and the paper wasp does not. We also have what we call a mud dauber. Now the mud dauber makes his home out of mud, and he'll do it on the eaves around here. My wife's always washing them off the eaves of the house. Or in buildings, I have a little shed where I keep stuff down the way there, and there's always wasp nests in there. But they'll do it wherever they have a low-hanging thing like a eave on a house, or where they can get in somewhere that's kind of sheltered. Also paper wasps. I noticed a paper wasp nest right there at my garage door. The door's down, and in the framework of the door on the outside there's a little paper wasp nest. They can get kind of large. This one's small and I've got to go knock it down. I don't want a bunch of wasps hanging out there. Well, anyway, saying all that, and I don't know what kind this one is. Once in a while we get a wasp in the house. We have theorized that there's a small hole around a window or something, and they get in there, but we've never been able to identify the area. We halfway think it's on the front side of the house, but once in a while we have a wasp on the back side. Maybe we have 2 small holes. Doesn't happen very often, maybe half a dozen times a year. But then you have a wasp in the house, and what do you do with them? Well, I went and I climbed on a stool because we have some windows up high, and I saw him up there today, and I tried to hit him, and I thought he fell, and I couldn't find him, and you don't want an angry wasp flying around. Well, I put the fly swatter up and I went about my business, and about a half an hour later I looked in that same window, there he was again. So I did succeed in eliminating him today. I am the hunter. You don't want a wasp in your house. You don't. They are angry little creatures that will sting you for no good reason at all. In my opinion, I've been stung several times. I told a story about one when I was getting gas down there at that little shed, and about 3 days later I had to go to a root canal appointment, and my whole head was all deformed. It was swollen so bad. I think it was episode 84. I'm talking about my dad's grocery store, but on the monologue I told the story about getting stung by that wasp. He did me a number. That was the worst I'd ever got stung. I've been stung before, but I didn't react. My body didn't react like it reacted to this one. Anyway, so enough about wasps. What I have here, I keep a running list of ideas I have for podcasts. I'll just speak into my phone onto my notes, and then I transfer them to a spreadsheet, etc. Well, I go back to these when I'm looking for an idea a lot of times, and I have no idea what I was thinking when I put that idea down. For example, I have one that says shorthand. I don't know anything about shorthand, but there it is. Or catching stuff. Now, I probably was about when I was a kid and catching snakes and spiders and critters, but I don't know. I have these ideas, some of them's one-word ideas. So I went through several of them today, just wrote them down here. So I have 3 lines of these ideas, and I'll just go through them and I won't make a podcast about one idea. Maybe I'll shut my eyes and take a swing and possibly hit something, kind of like a piñata, you know what I mean? So let me start here. I'll probably keep this to 15 minutes unless I really get carried away. And if I go through these too fast, I did print off the whole spreadsheet and I can go back to them. Here we go. Family. This is probably pretty easy. I have 2 brothers and my sister. We're all still alive, all 3 of us kids. I have 2 half-sisters from my dad before we were ever born, before he ever knew my mother or any of that. And I've totally lost track of one, Penny. I don't know where she is or if she's alive or dead. I've looked for her a little bit and I can't find her. The other one is Judy, and I knew Judy fairly well. She used to live in Denver when I lived in Denver. Lately, though, I have not heard anything from her. I know she moved down to Arizona, and I should make an effort because she is several years older than me. I miss her. I miss the whole idea of somebody that has the same blood in me that I really don't know very well. I do have several pictures of her when she was little. I know that when her mother and my dad went their separate ways, it affected my dad a whole lot. I do know that much. But anyway, family is a very important thing to me. I miss my mom and dad. I miss my grandparents. I have one aunt still alive, and that's Connie, who's actually younger than me. And I am blessed to be able to get in touch with her once in a while. She called me here a few weeks ago about my birthday and all that. I do believe with all my heart that family is an institution set up, created, and blessed by God. And things happen within family. And I don't think we should blame God when things go south. My next thing is nothing better than nostalgia. I try to keep nostalgia at the forefront of this podcast. I get very nostalgic all the time. Christmas is a big time for nostalgia. But my mom or my dad's birthdays, I wear a pair of my dad's socks on his birthday every year. When he passed away, I grabbed a pair of his silky socks that all of us kids kidded him about and made fun of him. And I wear those all day on his birthday. And they are not comfortable socks. They are tripped out socks. These little brown socks, and they're made out of nylon or something. I don't know. We always called them his silky socks. He had a bunch of pairs of them, and they were all brown. They probably last me the rest of my life since I wear them one day a year. The next one is I wasn't very responsible. That's a fact. Growing up, I just marched to the beat of my own drum. I really didn't consider anybody very much. Now, I loved my family, and I was polite, and I was well-meaning. But I was so into me and what made me happy and what made me feel good and stuff that everything else kind of took a back seat. And that kind of morphed into, as I got older, kind of a monster of that, where I actually hurt my family, not physically, but by not considering them and only thinking of me. I guess if there are a few things to have a do-over on, it'd be my responsibility. How I approach that would be one of them. Nicknames. I've had a few nicknames over my lifetime. Jimmy, which is just a form of James, and Jimmy's a nickname of Jim. And I still have some girl cousins that call me Jimmy. Earl, that is my middle name, my dad's middle name, my grandpa's first name, my dad's dad. I use Earl a lot on this podcast. Augie. I was Augie when I met this fetching young girl that I just couldn't get enough of. Ended up marrying her. And luckily for me, before we got married, she found out my name was Jim and not Augie. I do like to give nicknames to people that I care about, especially people I care about. I have all kinds of nicknames for my wife. I have one grandchild. He's the youngest of them all, and I'd give him nicknames, but I think his parents really didn't appreciate it, and I have learned to stop that. I just call him by his name now. But I want to call him nicknames. He'd laugh and look at you like he was disgusted. It was kind of a special thing, I felt, but all things must pass. Nothing is guaranteed. Ain't that the truth? Nothing in this life is guaranteed. There's a saying that the only thing is guaranteed is death and taxes. I like to take that a little further. You may die, but if you know the Lord God Almighty and Jesus Christ, you approach death differently. That's a fact. Another thing that's not guaranteed is happiness. And the only reason it's not guaranteed is we are masters of our domain. And it's up to us to choose life, to choose contentment, to choose happiness, no matter what the storms are raging around us. Don't worry, be happy. Isn't that how that song goes? You can't control everything in life, but you can control how you approach life. Keep on the sunny side. I do encourage you to find a way to stay on the sunny side of life. Dance. About the only dance I do well, or at least where it passes, is the chicken dance. You know, the one that everyone does at a wedding. Used to anyway. I doubt if they do that anymore. YMCA, I'd get all messed up. I wanted to do the floss, but my arms and my hips and my knees and all that don't jive, and I just can't do the floss. I used to be able to do the Freddy. Do the Freddy. Remember that? Probably 66, 67. There's a dance called the Freddy. How about the twist? Now the waltz, I'd always pass that off as putting my arms around the girl and kind of letting them snuggle up into you and maybe not even move your feet. But that's not the waltz. Waltz, foxtrot. How about the polka? How about the Freddy? The bong. When I was into smoking dope, and I'm sorry if this took a left turn for you, but I would go places and people would have a bong. It'd be like a big pipe thing with a bowl kind of worked into the side of it, and it was filled halfway with water, and you lit up that hash or that pot or whatever, and the water would bubble as you took a hit. I guess it was like filtering it, and supposedly it got you high faster, supercharged or something. I never really liked them, but I participated in such events. I just kind of, I don't know. I never owned a bong. Isn't there a song about that, about a bong? Tree line. Where I was born and raised up in north central Colorado Rocky Mountains, 8,000 feet above sea level, about 2,000 feet above that, around 10,000 feet, is what you'd call tree line. I should have looked that up to see what the elevation is of tree line. But the trees stop growing. Now, as you get higher and higher, the trees will become more like these grubby, stumpy, bent trees until no tree would grow at all. It really is not the very best place to camp above tree line, although I have camped above tree line before. It's hard to find firewood if nothing else. But if you stand and look at the mountains, you can see tree line. You can see where it's green, and then it turns from green to purple, basically. Purple Mountain's majesty above tree line, basically where the glaciers live. Pen pals. I only had one pen pal in my life, and it was a girl from Norway. Arnlug was her first name, even if I say that correctly. If I don't, please forgive me. Be a hoot if she was listening to this and remembered this. I was going to go see her. We talked about that on my very first episode, about going to see Arnlug. Never made it to Norway, but anymore with social media today, We all have pen pals if you participate in social media. The world's changed in so many ways. Smoking cigarettes. Yeah, I did that for a couple years. Never was real agreeable with me. And if you're a kid listening to this, do yourself a favor and don't even start that nonsense. I had several friends that died of emphysema. Plus my Uncle Charlie died of emphysema. Why put something into you that is so addictive that you may not be able to stop, and then it's going to kill you to boot? Plus make you smell bad, look bad, your skin turns bad, you cough all over everything. Honors. It's been my honor to bring this podcast. It is my honor to have a school that half of my graduating class, I went to school with them from kindergarten on, maybe a third of the class. It's my honor to be a father, grandfather, and husband. It's my honor to live a good and clean life and try my very best to do what's right. Not that I don't screw up all the time. Choices. I think I've talked about choices throughout this episode. When in doubt, listen to your heart. You'll be glad you did. I had one more, and I think I'm going to save it. It says, people that will always live in my heart. Now, I got about half of this list done, and I'm going to make a podcast about people that will always live in my heart. But as far as today, I want to thank you for listening to my podcast. This is what I do now. I'm 74 years old, and I've noticed the last year or so that I'm actually sounding 74 years old. You know, you can always tell an old person when you get them on the phone or something. And I always thought I was immune from that, but I'm not. I'm not immune to anything. None of us are. We have to know how to coexist with whatever life throws at us. We have to believe for divine health and believe that our heart is right. I try. Thank you for riding along with me today. Always try to be kind. It's good for your soul. I'll be back next Wednesday, probably with an outline. Peace out.